while we love Amazon, they take a lot of money for what they do.
The lady had a house for 30 years.
Yeah.
She did not have any insulation in the attic.
The attic was full of white mold, completely full.
When I look at your fans, they're so small. Isn't bigger better? Bigger fan is better.
I was put here to do this.
Wow.
I found what I love to do. You don't work with your friends. You can't work with your friends. You got to bring the hammer down. So my heroes are roofers. Honestly, the guys that go out there and bust their tail every day in the heat.
But you were telling me that you don't need that. You need a very small one.
Yeah, you're getting in my wheelhouse now.
Dan, what do you do for a living?
I solar power roofing vents.
You solar power. Who's your client? Who buys from you?
My client is everybody in America.
But
every roofer,
but impress me. Like, who is the most impressive customers of yours? You just listed a few.
SpaceX is a pretty impressive customer. Boeing is a pretty impressive customer.
Boeing.
The Forest Service, the National Forest Service, is a pretty good customer. The Marines, the Army. Last week we sold a bunch to the Coast Guard. All very impressive
What
customers.
do they buy from you? What's the product? What's the most popular? What's your claim to fame?
Well, my claim to fame is the container venting. When we hit on the container venting, we really hit on a product that a lot of people need and use. A lot of people have containers for storage outside their business, mechanics, roofers, you name it. But the government has
hot inside.
Well, it gets hot inside. And so our convective loop system, which is cool air intake, hot air exhaust, convectively like a hot air balloon rising, but boosted and activated by a solar panel and a small solar powered fan, really does the job.
Why don't they install vents on containers? I guess it's because they ship them overseas, and if something happens, like
they do have vents on containers.
They do have.
They do.
But it's not enough?
It's not enough. And it does not work when the convective air is not moving. So when it's cool outside and it's not hot enough for the ambient temperature to rise, they don't cool.
What about roofing? Roofing has very similar problems too, because a lot of roofs. What's your numbers that you have? Because I've heard that 60% of houses are underventilated or, just not functioning properly. Is it accurate, you would say?
I would say that at least 60%, because many are old homes. I always encourage roofers to go in and poke their head up in the attic and take a look at the insulation, take a look at the intake vent, and then decide how they're going to kind of think like air moves, and then they're going to decide how to advise the customer on how many vents and where to place them. Many vents homes are just two straight sides. So, I mean, that's pretty obvious. You're going to put them on the back side. But
what's your background? How did you come up with this idea? What did you do before this? And how long do you do it? Like, when did you start this?
We started 14 years ago.
14 years. What did you do before?
In about 2013. I mean, I started before then, but officially took off. I was a roofing contractor in Seattle for 30 years, owned a very successful roofing company, and I started these products out of the necessity I saw for enhanced venting, especially in the winter months, February, January, March, when there's not a lot of convective air movement, when you've got those 15-degree days and the moisture is staying inside the attic and possibly warping. The big concern with that lack of movement of air is mold growth. So mold spores being seeds then growing into mold and causing health concerns.
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time.
One of the reasons we should check our attics, because oftentimes our bathroom fans and kitchen fans get disconnected and they just dumping air. When I was a roofing contractor, I've seen it so many times. People would call us here in Minnesota in February, March. March is warming, but January, cold month. They're like, my roof is leaking. It's negative 30 outside. And what would happen, they would have door open somewhere, like attic door or not insulated. I remember I did this job. The lady had a house for 30 years.
Yeah,
She did not have any insulation in the attic.
right.
The hedge door was not insulated at all. I'm like, how is it even possible? Like that, and she replaced the roof several times and nobody ever insulated it. It was crazy to me.
They didn't look in the roof. And I'll tell you a very quick story. We had a lady that owned a rental, and she was renting to her daughter and her boyfriend, and she had a chimney leak. And so we went out and repaired. And of course, in Seattle, very obvious when you have a chimney leak. So we repaired it, what we thought was a leak, and then returned again. And I said, finally, I need to get inside. I've got to go inside and look. I can't look from the outside any longer. So I met the girl and I saw her, and her eyes were watering. And I don't know why I felt compelled to ask her, but I said, are you sick? And she said, yeah. She says, my boyfriend and I are both sick, and allergies and watering eyes and nose. And so, well, let me look in the attic. And so we looked right away. Here's the pipe for the fan right up against the chimney.
Wow.
Okay, so the attic was full of white mold, completely full.
Oh, that will make you sick.
It made her sick. Wow. And so what we did, I looked up, because what tricked me was there was ridge vent. They put the ridge vent right over the ridge. They hadn't opened the ridge vent. So we took the ridge vent off, opened the ridge vent, put our solar blaster, solar-powered ridge vent in the ridge opening. She had no intake, so we created some intake, put some RVO vents down low, cool air in, hot air out. Within a month, that white mold was completely gone. She had gotten an estimate for $6,000 for mold remediation. And for the $1,500 I charged her to put the system in, she saved $4,500 right there.
Wow. Talk to me about Florida market. Florida is very, very hot. Well, you're in Arizona, very hot too.
Yeah.
But I've been in Florida many times visiting roofing companies and the products that they install. As a matter of fact, you're not the first solar fan company that I've touched into it, and I've seen popular solar fans in Florida. I've holded them. You raise them up and it just blows up. I actually have a video with me taking the fan and like hearing it goes, right?
Yeah.
Because in Florida it's so hot. When I look at your fans, they're so small.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, isn't bigger better? Bigger fan is better, because your common sense when it tells you, if you have 130 degree in the attic, you need a huge fan to blow it.
Yeah.
And if you've been like, I remember I lived in Atlanta. In Atlanta, a lot of homes have, I did not see it in Florida, but in Atlanta for some reason, it's also hot. They call it hot Atlanta. A lot of people have electric fans, like giant fans.
Whole house fans.
Yes, whole house fans.
Yeah.
And you would think that that's a common sense solution to hot attic problem. But you were telling me that you don't need that. You need a very small one.
Yeah, you're getting in my wheelhouse now. Bigger is not better.
Okay.
So I'll explain why. The code is mandated to have several convective vents. All we do is complement the convective system with several small solar-powered fans. Now, our testing shows that we'll take on a 712 pitch, we'll take a code-mandated venting system and we'll move the air from 5 miles an hour to 15. So we about triple the air MPH. The key is balance and uniformity. Now, if you put a large fan over here, what are you doing over here? Or if you put it here, where's it getting its air? Is it getting its air from the eave where it should be getting its air? Or is it stealing from the code mandated vents here and here? Also, if you're talking about winter conditions and you have a large fan here and you've got a chimney right here and it's sucking the air through there into here, now you're pulling smoke, air from the chimney or gas, whatever you're burning, into your attic and then exhausting. You don't want to have that loop. You want the loop that runs from eave to ridge and in a uniform, balanced fashion throughout the whole roof. Now, you and I both know, and we've looked at pictures, you've seen them. Every roofer out there has seen these pictures of hips. Hips are notoriously difficult to vent because they'd have a wide eave base and a pointed top. Put a couple of our solar-powered vents, and now we're properly venting that hip. Hips don't get a lot of convective movement. There's also the bay. Each bay, has its own kind of tunnel of wind that goes up to it.
Talk to me about the fan itself. It looks like a computer fan. It's so
Yeah.
small.
Yeah.
Talk to me about capacity, like
Trust
longevity.
me, in the 14 years I've been doing this, I've heard that. And here's the deal with the fan. It's an industrial fan. It's a 2-ball bearing, high-speed fan. It's not a sleeve bearing. It's not a single ball bearing. It's a 2-ball bearing, and it's on the space shuttle. Mm-hmm. They're used for very difficult industrial jobs. We've tried to kill them. We've got them water soaked them. We've dirt soaked them. Yeah. I mean, you can kill the fan, obviously, but under normal conditions where you're using it for this application, it's 50,000 hours rated, which is 9 hours a day for 15 years rated.
Wow.
The other thing about the fan is they're easy to replace. So 5 minutes, you've got a new fan in there if something happens.
So you do sell a lot in Florida.
I sell a lot in Florida.
You sell a lot on Amazon. Amazon is how easy or how hard of a business to sell on Amazon? I hear a lot of complaints from small business owners selling on Amazon. Looks like it's doing really well for you. You're
Yeah.
reasonable priced because
Yeah.
I see a lot of solar fans that we buy at ABC or others. They're way more money and looks like, according to you, they're not as efficient, but you sell a lot on Amazon.
It's not so much that the efficient, they're not doing it right.
They're not doing it.
The code mandates we do it a certain way. Let's just complement that.
What's the best way to buy it? Is it Amazon or through your website or?
Well, I love dealing with my customers. I love talking to each of them. I like advising them. I'll go to Google Earth if they've got a project, and I'll look at the home with them, and I'll say, oh, here's a concern here. Here's a concern here. Okay, do you want to vent the garage? What about that hip over there? Do you want to put a ridge vent here? Kind of custom tailor for their customer, and then they can pass it on to their customers. I spend a lot of time on the phone, which I love. Amazon is something that we really got to pay attention to. You got to be on Amazon every day. You got to deal with the customers and their needs and their concerns, and keep your rating up. So while we love Amazon, they take a lot of money for what they do. We fulfill through Amazon, so we ship to them. So we'll spend $8,000 a week shipping product to them, and then they fulfill from there, which is very convenient and nice.
Solar blaster fan, like this fan, is it your company? Like, do you still install it?
No, I don't install them anymore.
So solar blaster.
I'm off the roof, Dimitri.
So you just manufacture. I just saw the van, so I had to ask.
Yeah, no, thank you.
How did you transition from being a roofing contractor to now having product for roofers? Because I actually have a lot of guys coming to my podcast who transitioning now.
Yeah.
So they've done the work for so many years. Now they came up with the aha moment, created a product, and now they have to figure out manufacturing. I actually work with 3 guys now who have inventions.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone who is transitioning from contracting to manufacturing or wholesaling?
It was hard because I loved the roofing business so much. When I went through the process of shutting the business down, I still had jobs, and my salesmen are bringing me a job. Do you want to do one more?
You couldn't sell it?
I didn't. I didn't. It just wasn't in the cards at the time. But in the transition, the guys are still bringing me jobs. I've got a crew that I've had for 20 years that are wonderful, that do beautiful work. I'd go out to every job and I'd look at it and go, oh my gosh, this job is just gorgeous, But I was getting older, and there was the stress, the daily stress of that roofing business. And I loved this idea. And I was accomplishing.
This is not stressful because this is also business.
No, this is a gift.
This
was given to me. I was put here to do this.
Wow.
I found what I love to do. I was put here to do this. I loved every day. I was accomplishing something every day. If you look at the event, I was accomplishing this and where to manufacture this and how this looked. And then, of course, we've improved that, all those things over the years. But I was born to do this, and so I found what I love to do, and every day for me is not work. Being here with you is not work. This is what I love to do.
I was listening to Dwayne Johnson interview to Patrick Bet-David yesterday. It just got released, and Dwayne Johnson is talking about, he'd been a wrestler, he went to Hollywood, The Rock, and he said that, they asked him a question, what motivates you? And he said, you have to wake up in the morning and you have to run to what you do. If you're not running, like, you get to choose. Then the busier you get to choose what you do. And if it feels like, oh, why am I doing it? And, if you're not excited, now it becomes a job and it eats you. But if you wake up and you run, like, I pick you up from the airport today. I actually was excited. I told my team, I told everyone, I was like, I'm excited to do this. Like, this is, I'm running to my office. I can't wait for next guests. I'm giving you guys opportunity to share your product. The same thing is like awesome to find something that you love, and it shows. For those of you who are watching, I want to share. I did just a quick Zoom before arranging this interview. And then here he's like, Dimitri, let me show you my house. He grabs his computer or phone and just start touring his office. And there are people assembling in a garage, units, and people are working. It's a beautiful thing to see. Like when you see functional business, it's one of those, I wouldn't call you a startup, but those businesses that feels like, build out of garages, build out of a small place, like little manufacturers doing something, like it's very inspiring to see. So you're inspiring me as I'm talking to you. Talk to me about this light blaster. I do see a lot of, solar lights. We actually have one solar tube here in this house in the bathroom, and it always throws me off because I go there all the time. I also want to turn off the switch.
Yeah, right.
Because
Exactly.
you can't turn it off.
Yeah, yeah.
How much light is this, and how is it different from regular solar tube?
Okay, so it really is no different. It is, in fact, a solar tube.
Just a solar
so
tube.
it's like a regular solar tube. We come up with.
But
these,
why it has like, it looks on pictures that there's a mesh or something?
Well, it's a diffuser, is what it is, to diffuse the light. Now with the shed applications, we've got the flat diffuser. With the home applications, we've got the straight down effect, and then we have the out effect.
There's no condensation building it, because the way I see in the picture, there it's like closed. So
it is closed.
It's closed, but there's no condensation, moisture, nothing.
We haven't had issues with that. I've heard the concern, but we haven't had issues with that.
Got it. So you also install them on containers? You also install
We
them?
install them on containers. They're Energy Star efficient. So in the container application, they don't transfer heat into the container.
They don't. How do you explain that? What's the engineering there?
Well, we basically seal the
Okay.
internal diffuser.
Just because it's
So
sealed.
yeah.
Because any window will get you heat. That's why even on the planes, they said shut down the window, because to keep the plane cool, because the sun will come in and it will warm it up. Well, I guess in the plane, you're so high up too.
Yeah, well, it's a sealed system. Basically, it's a sealed system. Now, with the container vent, or the container light, I akin it to a 80-watt light bulb. It's a bright system. It'll give you street lighting. It'll give you moon lighting. So when you go into your shed or your container, you open the door and your eyes don't have to take time to adjust before you go grab that tool.
Got it. Well, I have a few more questions for you. You have 17 Google reviews. Very little. You need to work on your reviews. They're all 5 stars except one. It's from Will N. 6 years ago. 1 star. Here's what he said. Would not buy again. Stopped working not long after owning. They never offered to repair it or replace it. I have heard bad things about the product, but decided to take a chance. Look for a better product. Buyer beware. What's your response to Nick? Or Will?
When I left Seattle, I lived in my motorhome for 8 years.
Okay.
There was a maintenance guy in a RV park.
This is the guy?
Yeah. I traded him what was, the crank up fence on our motorhome. I've also got a product that goes over that. And he modified it, and he took it, and he what he wanted to do is have 4 fans in his unit and have one on a switch and one solar powered. Well, he messed up the wiring when he did it, and he broke it himself. And then he got all mad, and he wrote me a bad review. So You know how reviews are. That's the
Unbelievable.
story behind that one. Yeah, that's his
Unbelievable.
wife that wrote it. It wasn't him.
He's like,
Yeah.
I love how he said, I have heard bad things about the product.
No.
Right.
No.
That's how
Well, the buyer beware too is kind of like, really, come on. But that's what you deal with. You take the good with the bad. But that's the story with that one.
you have, guys, if you like this concept, I have a favor to ask. Please go to Solar Blaster on Google and drop a good review. Good product, especially if you used it. Drop the review to help this situation. I think it's awesome. You have great reviews on Facebook, except for one. It's from Raymond Cox from 2022. Here's what he said. This company bought out a company that was making solar vents cover for motorhomes and travel trailers almost 10 years ago and have yet to manufacture the product. I've sent emails and finally today I actually spoke to someone and their comment is, well, it's a long story. They have no plans to manufacture this product, which they have video showing it. They have it manufactured on YouTube. Makes you wonder why something that has such high demand, they want at least sell to another company that would manufacture it for people who are interested in purchasing it.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? What happened was I developed the RV blaster, the RV vent, which is the same as what the other review is about. And when you have the 14 by 14 crank up vents in an RV, this goes like yours. It goes over the top, and it keeps it fresh inside, so it keeps the air moving when it's just sitting there. So he was mad that I had given my patent on the product to another manufacturer that was not any longer manufacturing the product. He wanted the product. And I says, well, I don't have any control over that. It's out of my hands now. I don't manufacture it any longer. And so that was his
That's
deal.
the story.
Yeah, it's the story with him. But I talked to him personally. He was mad that I no longer had it because he wanted to buy it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who are your biggest competitors? Are you only competing with the other solar-based companies or regular fans, or I guess?
This is the scary part, Dimitri. I have no competitors.
You have no competitors. What about other solar fan companies?
They're not competing with me. They're large fans. They're not doing it right. I'm the only one in America
So you create your own
promoting
category.
the correct use of a small solar-powered fan.
Wow. Who do you hate to lose business to?
I don't lose business.
You don't?
Talk to me.
Once
You won't buy any other product.
Oh, yeah, I feel that. I actually feel that. Do you have any competitor? I know you said you don't have competitors, but any other company that does similar, like in ventilating space, who you respect, who solves the problems similar to what you solve?
Okay, I do have a competitor they sell at Home Depot, but if you look at their fans, they're flashing. It's not wide enough
I see.
to be compatible. The unit itself is very cheap, and it's not. If you look at the quality of our product, powder coated, spun aluminum, 22 gauge top, 25-year panel, 50,000-hour fan, there is no comparison, just absolutely none. But who do I admire? I admire all the small guys that are out there trying to make it and promoting their product. They have their way and their ideas of how it should be done, and I don't have any real heroes in the industry. I'm a roofer. I just get out of the roofing business, and so my heroes are roofers. Honestly, the guys that go out there and bust their tail every day in the heat and the rain and look for that storm coming and got to dry in that roof and fix that rotted wood and repair that chimney, and those are really my heroes in the industry. And those are the guys I want to serve.
I agree. Well said. So what's your top product? Number one best selling? What do you sell the most of?
The 3-watt Connex roof blaster is my top product.
Yeah. Have you ever had copyright challenges on your product names, packaging, or
No, haven't. Yeah.
Anybody try to copy you?
Not yet.
Not yet. I know it's very
They've
common.
got a long ways to catch up.
But on Amazon, that's a pretty common thing. There's a lot of documentaries about it. Like someone will copy, get a lot of reviews,
Yeah.
and compete against you.
What we
Made
do
in
is
China.
very difficult. The manufacturing process is very difficult. It's actually an art. If you've heard of spun, the metal spinners, they are a craft unto themselves. And so in order to do it the way we do it, they probably would have to, there's not a whole lot of them out there. So it's a very specialized craft. I don't know how else you would do it. I've been to some of the manufacturers of, say, Norwesco, Bruce and Dana, of the turtle vent themselves, but they do it completely different than we do, and we're more kind of personalized, more hands-on. You saw the girl making our product in our manufacturing process. So we build each one by hand.
Do you have patents on your products?
No,
No patents. Why
no.
not?
I have a patent on the Ridge Blaster, but why? As
So
as
people don't
Elon
copy
Musk,
you.
well, as Elon Musk would say, that you just got to alter it a little bit. He puts all his stuff out open source, so they could just take and alter one little thing and have a closed product. It wouldn't be the product. So yeah, that's so I don't bother with it.
Did you have any blind spots when you started this business? As a roofing contractor, starting manufacturing, you did not know everything.
Yeah.
Talk to me about blind spots, mistakes, the hardest things in the beginning.
The blind spot is I partnered with a major corporation right off the bat who took trust in me and believed in me and still does, but it didn't fit our model. It didn't fit the way we wanted to do business, and so I thought we were going to grow really fast and become really big. What I found through the years is it took a lot of time, a lot of work to build the infrastructure. So the blind spot was thinking I was going to maybe get rich quick, maybe.
So you thought because it's probably supplier, so you work with them, they put you on every shelf, but it did not work.
It did not work in the pricing structure, in the whole working with the corporate structure.
Do you sell through typical suppliers, ABC, SRS? No.
They still have the ability to buy from us, yes, and they do for their customers, but not. We're mom and pop shop,
Got it.
so yeah, we want to sell to the roofer individually. Those are the guys we want to work for, and they're going to get a good deal.
Yeah.
When they don't have that corporate in between, there really isn't enough step in this for all 4 or 5 steps of level. The manufacturing cost is pretty high.
What's your biggest challenge in scaling the company? Like as you grow, because you're pretty big now, how are you solving scale? Like how often do you hire people? Like are you floating in certain numbers or are you still growing?
Yeah, it's seasonal.
Seasonal.
Just like every roofing business is somewhat seasonal, and so we're seasonal too, and so we have to deal with that. How much inventory.
What's your busiest month?
July.
July.
Yeah. And now
Because
we're
of the heat?
because of the heat, yeah, especially with the containers because of the heat and people. Now we'll get into the condensation months when the people need the help with the condensation and the moisture in their containers and their roofs. But right now we're into everybody's getting ready for fall, right? Getting that roof done before winter. So we're into that kind of season right now. Everybody's rushing to get their products. And
How do you install it on a container? How long does it take and how do you cut it? Like regular grinder? Like
yeah, so we have a 1/4-inch EPDM gasket that comes with the kit on the container that we 3-course, we caulk and then gasket and then caulk and then down with the 16 self-tapping screws. So the template is the inside of that gasket. So you scribe the inside of the gasket, you take a side cutter, cut that on the straight edges, take a Sawzall, finish it off, out drops the hole, in goes the caulking, the gasket, screwed down, about 20 minutes and you're done.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
What's the hardest leadership decision you have to make and did it pay off?
Hiring and firing. hiring people, finding good people, finding people you trust, that you want to work with, that you like. That's tough. It's always tough to let people
Any
go.
family in the business?
No,
Friends?
no.
Did you make that mistake?
Yes.
What advice would you give to someone who is trying to work with a family or friends?
Don't. Do you want to get down to the bare bones
Sure.
of it? You don't work with your friends. You can't work with your friends. You got to bring the hammer down. There's times when you got to make those decisions. And they're not going to like it. They're going to, oh, you're my friend. Sorry. The decision has to be made, and here it is. And I'm sorry if you don't like it, but here's where we go.
Does it ruin the friendship?
Yep.
Every
It
single time?
has. You can't work with your friends. It's just something at 65 years of age.
I'm going through this right now. It's very
telling
hard.
you. Yeah.
Someone you like, someone who just doesn't perform. What do you do? It's hard.
Yeah. I had to fire my brother.
Really? Tell me that story.
Well, I had a guy that was working with me for many years. He was well paid. He was making about $900 a week. My brother was making more money than that. I wanted to pay my brother more, but he started complaining to my guys. So he went outside the chain of command. And when I told him, I said, you can't complain to the guys. They've been with me. You've been with me 2 years. They've been with me 20. You can't complain to them about how much money you're making because they make less than you do. So he said, well, I'll talk to whoever I want whenever I want to. And I said, well, then you can't work for me. And that was the end of that.
Sad.
It is sad, very sad.
Do you believe every home will eventually run on solar power?
Yes.
You do?
Yes. Well, see how I jumped right in there? I believe that if you run the math on solar-powered venting for roofs, not solar power, I believe that every home should have solar-powered venting. It's the right way to do it. So if you run the math and you got 30 million single-family homes and you multiply it by 6 vents per home.
How soon do you think? Do you see like in 30 years every home will have solar?
I think here's how it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen because somebody's going to go to military base housing and they're going to get it mandated. And it's going to become part of the lexicon, just like other things that we've seen in the roofing industry. Whirlybirds, for instance. Now, how did they become part of the lexicon? But they did, right? So there's other things that have become part of the lexicon, is along with the slang of all the roofing materials the guys just use. Say maybe the hopper. Maybe the hopper was something that came along way after my time, but looks like a pretty darn good deal to me for working on the roof. Some of the tools, the way we roof with the knee pads, or you started out roofing on your hip because you're hand nailing, right? So it's just going to take probably a government mandate on base housing. I feel someone's going to have to go lobby possibly for that, and it will then become part of the way it's done, the correct way to do it. But this podcast right here could be the start. Also,
one step at a time. We're just making our contribution to the society. What do people get wrong about solar energy? And here's another one. Do your solar panels? I know the regular solar panels over the years they produce less. So the output is 100 at first, and then 10 years later is 50%.
Right.
Like the tiny pellets that you have.
Yes.
Do they have the same issue?
Yes, they will degrade over time, but we overpower the motor.
Got it.
Every motor's got a control, so you can throw 5 watts of power at a 3-watt motor, and it will regulate the amount of power to take to maximum. And we do that. We overpower the panel. Like that's why our fans will run on a lot of cloudy days. If it's socked in clouds, they won't run. But if it's high clouds, they'll still run. They'll still be working for you.
Yeah.
So I think that me, and possibly we, have to separate out small uses for solar power because they're so efficient. You see street lights, that are solar power. Great use. You see the stop signs that are blinking for safety. Great use of solar power. Out in the woods where you've got batteries charged and, So as far as solar power, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really want solar panels on my roof. I like the beautiful aesthetics of my house the way it is.
So you don't have solar?
No, no.
Yeah.
But I love the small uses for solar, and that's what I'm into.
So solar fan guy does not have solar power on his roof.
But I do like the battery.
What a hypocrite.
The battery backup. That sounds like hypocrisy.
Different purposes, but I agree.
Purposes,
I agree
different
with you.
uses for solar.
And a lot of solar just doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, the saving is not there. The cost, and it's.
Now you talk about hail, destroying solar farms. Yeah. Our product has never failed. Not one has failed from hail. Not one. Wow. So that's
just built stuff. And solar panels are hard to destroy too. I mean, you can damage them.
Yeah.
But I guess because the glass is so small, and
it could be the size. The size that it strengthens it because it's smaller.
Even big solar panels, not easily damaged. You can damage them, but not easily.
See, we use just three types of solar panels. We use 3 watt, 5 watt, and a 10 watt. So pretty simple stuff.
What's the craziest place you've seen a solar blaster product installed?
Well, I've had guys call me up and they're selling the mushrooms. Yeah. And they want to get rid of the moisture out of and keep them dry so they don't mold along with the pot. So I don't know if that's crazy, but it's a use for it, and it removes the moisture. And
so they don't like mushrooms with the mold?
They don't like mushrooms with the mold, right? Yeah.
Would you recommend Solar Blaster's product for doomsday preppers?
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah. I call it clothesline fresh air. Wherever you put our product and circulate air through it is going to have fresh, clean air, air being a natural cleanser. And that's why when Mom hung up the pillowcases on the clothesline, you put your head on there. Oh, it smells good. Everything smells good when it's had fresh air cleanse it.
What's the biggest misconception that you see that people have? Maybe you see in the comments and the reviews, like people get it wrong. Like maybe we don't need it. Like what's the misconceptions?
The misconception up front is that small fans won't do a big job. But once they've got it installed, they call me back and go, whoa. Now, so what we should talk about, and one of the things that you can relate to, especially here in this climate, is that you'll have an 80-degree day. And, pre-air conditioning, and, when we were kids, I'm from Washington, so kind of same latitude. You'd go in your house, and it's a 90-degree day, and it's 56 degrees outside. Why isn't my house cool? Why is it still hot? I got all the windows open. Why is it still hot in here? Because buildings during the day load up with heat. All structures do, including roof structures. Now, heat destroys roofs. So it's one of the factors they factor in is heat into the longevity of a roof shingle. So when you're unloading that heat all day long, you will cool quicker into the evening. Your air conditioner will run less. You'll have less maintenance on it because it's not running as much. You'll have a healthier home because you've removed that risk of mold. Your insulation stays lofted, so it's going to work more efficiently for you. So there's more than just one factor in the use of the small solar-powered vent.
Love it. What's the best way to buy a product? Website? Where do they go?
Website, call me up. I ship it out
What's
the
the
same
website?
day. SolarBlasterFans.com.
SolarBlasterFans.com. Guys, comment below what you think about this topic. And I'm just curious, especially for my Florida guys, does it make sense to you that smaller fan is more efficient than the bigger one and it's better? If you've used both, if you tested, comment below your opinion. And especially if you like data engineering stuff, just test products. I'm curious what you have to say about topics today. Comment below. We'll read all our comments. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Awesome.
Thanks.